Microsoft just built an entire operating system that you will never see, never touch, and never open. No windows, no icons, no start menu, because it was not made for you at all. It was made for the little AI gadget sitting on your desk. They are calling it Project Solara, and it was announced just 1 day ago. Think about that for a second. For 40 years, every operating system Microsoft shipped, MS-DOS, Windows, even the phone versions, was designed around a human staring at a screen, clicking and typing. Solara throws that entire idea in the bin. There is no screen to stare at. The user is a machine. The whole system is built so small AI assistants, the kind living inside a smart speaker, a wearable pin, or a pair of glasses, can think, act, and talk to the internet without a phone or a laptop in the middle. Here is the number that stunned me. Microsoft says a Solara gadget can run a full AI agent on a chip that costs under $15. That is cheaper than a movie ticket. A device smaller than a matchbox, doing reasoning that needed a data center 2 years ago. And the strangest part, Microsoft does not want to sell you the gadget at all. They want to sell the invisible layer underneath it. So what exactly is an operating system for robots that have no screen, and why is every hardware company suddenly nervous? Let me show you. To understand why Solara is such a big deal, you have to understand what an operating system actually does. Picture a busy restaurant kitchen. The operating system is the head chef who never cooks a single dish. Instead, they decide which cook gets the stove, who gets the oven, and in what order the orders go out. Without that chef, every cook fights for the same pan and nothing gets served. That is what Windows does for your laptop. It manages the chips, the memory, and the apps so they do not collide. Now here is the shift. For decades, the cooks were apps and the customer was you, a human. But over the last 2 years, a new kind of customer walked in, the AI agent. These are programs that do not wait for you to click. They decide things on their own, book a flight, reply to an email, reorder your coffee. The problem is that today's agents are bolted on top of operating systems built for humans. It is like teaching that head chef to also wait tables, take phone bookings, and do the accounting. Clumsy and slow, Microsoft saw the gap. Industry analysts estimate over 8 billion AI-capable devices will ship in the next 3 years, and almost none of them have a proper home built for agents. So instead of patching Windows yet again, Microsoft started from a blank page and asked one question: what would an operating system look like if the very first user was never a person? And this is where the real story starts. So let us crack Solara open and look at the gears inside. At its heart sit 3 pieces working together, and once you see them, the whole thing clicks. First, there is a tiny local brain. A small AI model runs directly on the gadget's own chip, so simple jobs, understanding a spoken command, checking your calendar, happen instantly, even with no internet. Think of it as the gadget's reflexes. Second, there is a memory vault. Solara keeps a private store of what the agent knows about you, encrypted on the device itself rather than dumped to a server. Imagine a personal diary that stays in your pocket instead of being mailed to a stranger. Third, and this is the clever part, there is a permission gatekeeper. Every time an agent wants to do something real, open your messages, spend money, control another device, it must ask the gatekeeper, which checks a rulebook you control. It works like the bouncer at a club with a strict guest list. No name on the list, no entry. Microsoft claims this gatekeeper can approve or block an action in under 50 milliseconds, faster than you can blink. Why does that matter? Because an AI that acts on its own is only safe if something disciplined sits between its intentions and your bank account. Solara turns that safety check into a core part of the system, not an afterthought bolted on later. But here is what most coverage gets wrong about why Microsoft is really doing this. And it has nothing to do with gadgets at all. Let us make this real, because words like operating system can feel abstract. Picture a small clip-on device on your jacket, no bigger than a guitar pick. You are walking to work and you say out loud, "Book me a table for 2 near the office tonight," and text Sarah the time. With a phone, you would unlock it, open an app, type, switch to messages, and tap send. With a Solara gadget, the agent on that little clip hears you, checks restaurants nearby using its local brain, asks the permission gatekeeper if it is allowed to send a message, gets the green light, and quietly does all of it. No screen, no tapping, done before you reach the corner. Now scale that up. Microsoft showed a demo where a Solara kitchen assistant noticed the milk was running low from a connected fridge sensor and added it to an order, but it paused and asked first, because spending money triggered the gatekeeper. That pause is the whole point. Another example, a Solara wearable for warehouse staff that answers questions hands-free, pulling from a private company manual stored on the device, so nothing leaks to the cloud. Microsoft says early test gadgets responded to voice commands in roughly 200 milliseconds, about the speed of a human reflex. The pattern is always the same. The agent listens, decides, asks permission, acts. Quiet, fast, invisible. It feels less like using a computer and more like having a very polite, very fast assistant who never needs you to look at a screen. But here is the twist nobody expected. Microsoft is not really fighting Apple or Google for your phone. It is fighting them for the thing underneath every future gadget, and the battle lines look nothing like the last one. Let us line them up. Apple's approach is the walled garden. Their AI lives inside iPhones and Macs they design and sell, locked tight to their own hardware. Beautiful, but closed. Google's approach leans on Android and the cloud, pushing most of the heavy thinking to giant data centers you rent through them. Powerful, but it needs a constant connection, and it feeds their advertising machine. Now look at Solara. Microsoft is copying the oldest trick in their own playbook. In the 1980s, they did not build computers. They built the operating system that ran on everybody else's computers, and that is how Windows ended up on 90% of the world's PCs. Solara is that exact move. Repeated for AI gadgets. Microsoft is happy for hundreds of other companies to build the actual hardware as long as those gadgets run Solara inside. The difference is stark. Apple wants to sell you the device. Google wants to rent you the cloud. Microsoft wants to own the floor that every device stands on, no matter whose logo is on the box. And whoever owns that floor collects a small toll on a market analyst's value at over $200 billion by 2030. That is a far bigger prize than selling another speaker. But here is the kicker that makes this risky for all of us. Here is the kicker. The moment a screenless agent can act on your behalf, the most important question is no longer what can it do, it is who is watching what it does. And Solara puts Microsoft right in the middle of that. Think about what these gadgets hear and see. An AI pin on your collar is, by design, listening for commands all day. A Solara assistant in your kitchen knows your routines, your shopping, maybe your conversations. The whole promise is that the agent acts without you checking a screen, which means you are trusting it to make calls when you are not looking. That trust is the new currency, and it cuts both ways. On the good side, Microsoft built Solara to keep your personal memory encrypted on the device, not shipped to a server, which is genuinely better than many cloud assistants today. On the worrying side, whoever controls the operating system sets the rules for every gadget running it. If Solara becomes the standard, Microsoft decides what the permission gatekeeper allows by default, which actions are easy and which are blocked. That is enormous quiet power. Security researchers are already raising a flag called prompt injection, where a sneaky message hidden in a web page or email tricks an agent into doing something its owner never asked for, like leaking data. With a screen, you might catch it. With a silent gadget, you might never know. Microsoft says Solara's gatekeeper is built to resist exactly this, but no system is perfect. The part most people overlook entirely is what you, sitting at home, should actually do about it. So what should you actually do with all this? You cannot install Solara today. It is aimed at device makers first, but there are concrete things to watch for and a few habits worth building before these gadgets land on shelves. First, when you buy any AI gadget over the next year, look for one specific thing on the box or spec sheet. Does it process your voice on the device, or does it send everything to the cloud? On-device is the safer default, and Solara devices are built to advertise this. If a gadget hides where your data goes, treat that as a red flag. Second, learn where the permission settings live before you need them. On a Solara device, there will be a controls panel, usually reached through a companion phone app, that lists what the agent is allowed to touch: your messages, your payments, your calendar. Walk through it on day one and switch off anything you would not hand to a stranger. Spending money should always require a clear confirmation, never a silent yes. Third, watch the names. Keep an eye on which hardware companies announce Solara support in the coming weeks, because that tells you where the platform is heading. If a brand you trust adopts it, that is a signal. If only Microsoft is talking, stay cautious. And fourth, simple rule, never let a screenless agent handle your most sensitive accounts, banking, primary email, until the technology has been battle-tested in public for a while. Early adopters take the arrows, but the biggest reason this matters is bigger than any single gadget. So here is what this really means for you. We are watching the quiet start of a new platform war, and unlike the phone wars you could see on a screen, this one is happening underneath everything, invisible. Project Solara is Microsoft's bet that the next big computer is not a laptop or a phone at all. It is a swarm of tiny, screenless gadgets, each running an AI agent that acts on your behalf. And whoever owns the operating system those agents live in owns the most valuable piece of the next decade, the same way Windows own the desktop and Android own the phone. For you, the takeaway is simple but important. The device you buy will matter less than the platform inside it. Ask where your data is processed. Learn where the permission controls are. Be slow to trust a gadget that acts when you are not looking, and fast to switch off anything that wants access to your money or your messages by default. The convenience here is real. An assistant that just handles things sounds wonderful, and often it will be. But convenience without control is how you sleepwalk into letting one company set the rules for your digital life. Keep your eyes on which companies adopt Solara over the next few weeks, because that race tells you who is winning before any product hits a shelf. This story is going to move fast, and we will be right here breaking down every twist as it happens. If you want to understand the AI world before it arrives at your door, follow for daily AI news, and I will see you in the next one.